What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, he's the Jarl of Worcester, Massachusetts. It's Desra.
What up? And sitting across from me, of course, is my house Carl, Brian Paul.
It's kind of like a pool boy. I looked it up. And every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we sit around and we discuss older PlayStation VR games. We see if they've had any patches that improved them or if, how they aged since they launched. That being said, in case they forgot to read the title down there,
right.
What game are we talking about this week, Desiree?
Or if they missed your oh-so-subtle hints at the top of the show
subtle.
here. Yeah, we're talking, of course, about Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim VR.
Or Skyrim, as the pros say.
Really?
Nobody says that.
No, thank God. This is technically our third episode about Skyrim VR.
Yes. Three.
Yeah.
Is it our first three-parter?
It's our first three-parter.
Yeah.
I don't even think we've ever had another two-parter.
Here's the Minecraft episode.
Doesn't count. Absolutely does not count. Because Minecraft's not in VR. We pretend like those old episodes don't even exist.
Okay.
Most of our viewers also pretend like they don't exist. So, in case you don't feel like going back and watching part 1 and 2 of Why We Love Skyrim, or if it's been so long since you watched them, here's a brief overview. Back on November 17th of 2017, Bethesda released Skyrim VR for $59.99, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
That pretty much sums it all up.
All right, have a good week, everybody.
That's it. That's totally it. That's all we said during that two-parter. For an hour, we talked about Skyrim, and all we said was, it's amazing because it's Skyrim and it's in VR.
Yeah, and actually this episode is going to be a little more in line with what we normally do, because, of course, when Skyrim came out, we had to drop everything, and yes, we need to talk about this, but really what we do here is talk about major updates.
Updates.
A game that's been around for a while, it gets an update. Is the update good, bad, whatever? And this had a pretty big update recently.
Very big update.
Yeah, and one thing also I want to point out. So Skyrim is out for VR, of course. It's also out for everything that has a digital screen at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw recently, there was an interview with Todd Howard where he basically came out and said, we're going to keep releasing Skyrim as long as people keep buying it.
I mean, and that's it's a smart business move.
Yeah.
And the fact is, like, people are like, well, how come? I mean, we talked last week about Wipeout.
Yes.
Wipeout Omega Collection. That game came out, $40.
Yes.
Right. And then the next thing you knew, we had a free PlayStation VR patch. Right.
Free.
How many of us would have bought the patch? A lot of us.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so that was some goodwill over there on the part of the developers and the publishers. But with Skyrim, I mean, they've re-released this game so many times on so many different platforms. They know it'll sell, and believe me, like, as much as I would have loved a free update to the definitive edition, I don't mind paying $60 to get a game like Skyrim in VR.
Right, and here's the thing too, like, this update comes out with some pretty massive changes that aren't just like little cosmetic things here and there. They really overhauled a lot of stuff. They didn't have to do this. I mean, they could have just counted their money. Hey, we made it. We made what we were going to on PSVR, but we're moving on to whatever else.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
I was going to say, like, I don't know how many headsets are out there in people's living rooms now because of Skyrim.
Probably so many.
How many people bought their first PSVR because of the Skyrim bundle?
This is probably our first killer app.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, name one commercial you've seen on an actual TV for PSVR. The only one I can think of offhand is the Skyrim one.
Yeah, I think that's the only one I've seen too.
Yeah.
On an actual TV. Although the amount of actual TV watching I do these days,
there's that too.
It's pretty minimal.
Yeah.
A few things I want to point out here about Skyrim VR in general before we tackle the new major patch. Just in case you weren't familiar, Bethesda obviously developed this game, but they had help from a separate studio.
Yes.
The studio is called Escalation Studios, and they're actually getting real good at helping porting things into VR. They actually helped Bethesda bring Fallout 4 into VR. They did Skyrim VR, and now
into PC VR. Calm down.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Wait, listen, in the future, we'll be having a different conversation, but it's the present.
Yes.
But now Escalation Studios is now owned by ZeniMax, which is the parent company of Bethesda. So all these guys are under like one big house now, and which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because that means, I feel like that means we'll probably see a whole lot more VR stuff coming from Bethesda. Exactly. Now, this does include all of the DLC, Dawnguard, Hearthfire, and Dragonborn.
Right.
No mod support. I know a lot of people are concerned about that. But again, it doesn't matter. Like, it's such an amazing thing to have in VR that I'm totally fine with that mod.
And not only that, for people who are still somehow complaining about the price, I think in the UK recently it went down to like £15.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Whatever that means.
Right. But
Madman in Black can probably do the conversion factor for us.
But if you were one of the people who bought the original Skyrim for I think it was Xbox 360 and PS3,
yeah,
you had to pay separate for the Dawnguard, for all these other expansions.
Yep.
You're getting all those expansions, all that content, bang, day one, for whatever price you're paying. Is it still?
No, I mean that was a sale that happened a week or two ago,
right,
depending on when we air this. And actually, it was it was $30 on sale here in the States.
It's crazy,
amazing deal. Even for $60, it's amazing, but it goes on sale all the time. Now, I went on one of my favorite things to do is going on HLTB.com.
Okay.
howlongtobeat.com.
Yeah.
And to figure out, like, what am I in for? Like, how long is this game going to take?
How do you even figure out beating Skyrim?
Well, and that's the thing. I felt like I was going to break the internet by typing in Skyrim VR into HLTB.com. And I actually, thought there was going to be 7.5 million years of thought.
Right.
And they were going to come back with the answer 42.
Okay.
I just thought everything was going to break. And so HLTB.com, all the people they polled, hundreds and hundreds of people, takes 32 and a half hours to beat Skyrim. Like, you go from point A to point B, you ignore all the stuff in between, and you can beat Skyrim in about 32 hours.
So just the main quest?
Just the main quest.
Okay.
Right? But if you're a completionist and you want to see everything, and now this is no dilly-dallying, this is no, I'm just going to wander aimlessly. Mm-hmm. This is, I know how to do everything in Skyrim, and I'm just going to do it. And this includes all the side quests.
Yeah.
225 hours. Easily. But no one's going to do it in 225 hours. Everyone's going to take forever because you do. There's a lot of mindless wandering. Mm-hmm. You're just like, I wonder what's over here. And you wander over there and you discover something.
Well, and to echo a thought I think we both had in the first time we talked about this, when I first played, because I was a huge Skyrim fan on 360.
Yep.
Played it, I played it to the point where when it was announced for VR, out of everyone on the channel, I was like, okay, sure. I mean, I'll give it a try because it's, but I'm kind of done with Skyrim. Yeah. I was wrong, but I find myself, when I played before, I was just like, okay, I want to get through the story, so I'm just going to fast travel here, and I missed so much. But because it's in VR and because it's so immersive, I find myself like I will just walk around aimlessly because I just want to be in that world. And you find so many more things. You hear conversations you never heard before, which leads to these quests you never would have found. And it's so. If you are one of like the 3 people left who have a PSVR and haven't tried Skyrim on it because I played Skyrim before, no, you haven't.
Yeah. And honestly, like I know there's not a whole lot of us out there that are like telling people how good it is. Mm-hmm. Like I'm saying, like, when I do a Skyrim VR search online, mm-hmm. the number of horrible articles and videos that pop up being like trash, what a dumpster fire this game is, what a piece of trash, like how, oh my god, there are so many articles about how awful Skyrim VR is, and it's obviously written by people who either don't care about VR, never played VR, or don't even know what Skyrim is. It's incredible because this game, I mean, spoilers, we don't need to say our rating scale. Yeah. This is a 1. This is an amazing game.
Yeah, the update has not broken.
No, the update hasn't broken it. But that's it. Going on the whole, like, how many hours does it take to beat Skyrim? I don't even know how many hours in. I'm like 50 hours in. Right.
I don't even care.
And I don't care how long it takes to beat. Yeah. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to figure out how to finish this game or play this game. It's very Grand Theft Auto for me.
Okay.
Once every 5 to 10 hours, mm-hmm. I'm like, I should probably complete a quest, right? And I go in and I check my my quest log and stuff and figure out, oh, okay, this one sounds interesting. Let's go do that. But like for all the time in between that, mm-hmm. I'm just wandering around like Grand Theft Auto, like killing people, picking up prostitutes, that kind of stuff. No, in Skyrim, I'm just like, I wonder what's in that cave over there.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, look, there's a dragon. I'm gonna kill that dragon. Like I killed dragons nonstop. I killed 3 dragons in one live stream recently. I was like, this is so much fun. Like, because the only thing, they're gonna put this on my tombstone. Yeah. The only thing I wanted to do in Skyrim back on PlayStation 3 mm-hmm. was kill a dragon with fire that came out of my hand.
Yeah.
And now I've done that like 100 times.
We've got you covered there. Yeah.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit to the June 2nd patch,
Yes.
version 1.4.40.0.8.
Wow.
These are the patch notes.
I just said 1.04.
Yeah, this is way more detailed on their site. We're going to go through one by one.
Okay.
Ready to do this?
I am so ready it hurts.
All right, the first thing they added in this patch was they added a new main menu experience. And I got to tell you, when I saw that, I was like, oh, God, what did they do? so what did they do?
Well, if this is the same menu I'm thinking of,
It is.
when you fire up, it's completely different.
Yeah.
You're actually in a space in Skyrim.
Waterfalls.
Yeah. I don't know if it's any... I think it's originally created for this. I could be wrong. There's probably some, it's like, no, it's this such and such cave, but it looks new to me.
It looks new to me, but I've spent way less time in Skyrim than you have.
And also, if you've been playing the original VR for a while and you haven't fired up in a bit and you turn it on, don't freak.
It's okay.
Because when it loads, where it usually says your level up there, it'll say level 1 or is it level 0? I think it was level 1.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a moment of like, oh my God, did this update blank everything? And then you start up this menu, and it starts out like you're starting from 0. It's not just a main menu. It's also really cleverly put as a tutorial of how to move around in VR.
Yeah.
So I think this does, such a great job for people who have played Skyrim before or coming to this fresh, showing you how this is going to be different, how to move around before the game proper even starts.
Yeah. Because using the Move controllers in this game, if you're new to PlayStation VR and you've never walked around in a game where you use 2 Move controllers, first of all, it's going to take you a while to get used to the controls. Yeah. Don't worry about it. You'll get used to it. You'll acclimate eventually.
Right.
Just stick with it. But
unless you're one of those crappy reviewers with a deadline we were talking about before, who's
so
like,
ridiculous.
this is janky and broken. Ugh.
Right. That's exactly what happened. I guarantee it. But this is very smart because I'm sure this was the first game a lot of new PlayStation VR owners played.
Absolutely.
And so this kind of walks you through it, kind of like, here's how you move around, here's how you do things with 2 Move controllers.
Right. But and again, this is before the game proper even starts.
Yep.
So I think that's really important. It's funny, like now that it's done this, I realize, oh yeah, that should have been this way the whole time.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of a real big mistake not doing that before. But anyways, so
next on the list. Globally improved visual fidelity, particularly on PlayStation 4 Pro.
Yeah, we need to talk about this.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
When this patch first dropped, my original duty to the channel and to viewers was, hey, I'm going to do a new first impression live stream of the Skyrim VR patch.
Yeah.
Let's see what this thing changed. And my first impression of the patch was, it looks maybe slightly better.
Okay.
But it had been such a long time since I played. I was wrong. It's not slightly better by any stretch of the imagination. It's way better.
Yeah. Yep.
It's way better. There was when I first played this game on PS4, and then on the PS4, I'm going to call it a really good-looking PlayStation 2 game.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And the draw distance isn't huge. A lot of the textures up close don't look that hot.
Yeah.
Right? It isn't. There's an open world, but man, you sacrifice a lot to get there.
Sure.
And then I reference on the PlayStation 4 Pro, this is like a really bad looking PlayStation 3 game.
Okay.
And now with the patch, I'm going to stand behind this. This looks like a solid PlayStation 3 game. Just in VR.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't think there's as much of a jump in the original PS4, and in fact, they said that pretty clearly there. But I will say, I play on the original PS4, and just right before we filmed this, Brian had me hop in and try his, and even so, before comparing the original PS4 to the PS4 Pro, it's like, okay, it's better, but it's not like, oh my God, I need to drop everything and buy a PS4 Pro because it's that much better.
Right.
It's close to that now. It's this. I just said before the camera started rolling, like, this is the first time I've really said maybe I should pick up a Pro.
Yeah.
Because it really is that significant of a difference. So if you've been playing around and were a little unimpressed with the graphics before, this is definitely going to soothe those issues.
Yeah, the first time I realized that maybe I was wrong was I saw some comments from people who were saying I couldn't play Skyrim VR before because it was so blurry, And now I think it's one of the best looking PlayStation VR games. And I was like, okay, wow, the verdict's in.
Yeah.
It does look amazing.
Yep.
So highly
kudos.
recommend checking out the patch.
And
if you
again,
haven't.
This is a free update months and months and months and months after it was released.
Oh yeah.
They did not have to do this. I'm kind of baffled as to why they did.
They didn't have to do it, but I will say that it's not like they went through the entire world and improved every texture. This is like a very small patch. It's like 300 meg or something.
Right.
And so obviously they literally flicked a few switches and said, okay, we upped the resolution. I will say, I do experience a couple more frame rate hitches.
Oh, interesting.
Playing it since the patch.
I haven't come across that, but maybe that's because I'm
It's not.
slumming it.
It's not. It's certainly. I'd much rather have it look the way it does, and every so often hit a frame rate drop.
Okay.
And also, I play with full locomotion, smooth turning, the whole deal. I know you're a teleporter,
right?
And so maybe
that's probably a big difference. Yeah.
Probably. Next up, increased the maximum value for the height offset slider.
You can be taller.
In layman's terms, it means you can be taller.
Yeah.
That was another complaint that I was surprised people had. But I mean, I never had that problem.
I don't really have those insecurities. So
every so often, there is a game that I'm like, man, why am I so short in this game?
Yeah.
Like 18 Floors recently, I reviewed that and I was like, man, maybe like a 12-year-old instead of like a man.
Yeah, maybe there's people who just really, really needed to be that big Nordic monster and be taller than everything. But
I think I think it depends on your setup. I think it depends on like the way your camera's placed.
Okay.
Every so often you run into these like kind of like anomalies where some people are like, no, I'm short in this game and no one else seems to be. So at least the slider here can fix all the problems.
Actually, no, I will take that back. All right, I don't mean to. I'm going to take that back, making fun of people about their height insecurities.
Oh no, they loved it.
Because Spark, actually, I do have that weird thing with Spark. Every once in a while, I'll fire it up, and I'm way tall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like
That's
like
weird.
the strike circle is here.
Right.
It's like, all right, and everyone's like, "How did you do that?" It's like I don't know.
It was an accident.
It's not a choice. Yeah. Okay.
So that's good. You can be taller. Various bug fixes. Now, it's a Bethesda game.
Right, yeah.
So
just go ahead and skip.
they could patch this game with various bug fixes till the end of time, and it still won't be perfect.
Yep.
Right. This Bethesda games by nature are just glitchy as hell.
Yeah.
And
you do better.
They say it's part of the fans say it's part of the charm. I haven't really encountered any bugs that were game breaking. I'm totally cool with hitting a troll and then seeing him fly up into the air and never see him again.
I had
I think that's kind of funny sometimes.
Another weird one just recently I was playing. I was using, oh my gosh. This sword where if you it's one of the Daedric artifacts, you hit undead and it blasts out this.
Is that Dawnguard?
It's Dawnbreaker maybe?
Dawnbreaker? I don't know. You did the
I know,
special
I know,
leading up to the
and it's
launch
one
of
of her-
Skyrim VR. You referenced that sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dawnbreaker.
Dawnbreaker, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I only know because of your video.
Yeah, well, it's like I wanted to say that, but it didn't sound right in my head. Anyways, I hit a jogger here, and it went off. I was like, awesome! And I went around the corner to this other room. Apparently, another jogger had died, but its weapons were just floating in midair.
Oh.
So its body was down here, and there was a sword and like a shield or something just kind of floating in midair. I was like, oh, okay.
Take that.
Yes. Well, no, I couldn't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But anyways, so bug fixes.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
There's also a bunch of changes when you use the PlayStation Move controllers.
Yes.
Now, PlayStation Move controllers in this game are amazing.
Necessary. Sorry.
So my decision to use the Move controllers or the DualShock 4, in case you skipped the first couple episodes of this, all depends on how long I plan on spending in VR.
Okay.
If I'm going to play Skyrim for an hour, which let's be honest, when does that ever happen? I'm going to use the Move controllers because I want to be as immersed as possible. I want to like actually see my hands, and I want to boom. I don't do that. I'm more like throwing fireballs. It's so much fun. That's awesome, and I love everything about that feeling. And once you acclimate to the controls, like I mentioned earlier, it is just an absolute total blast.
Yep.
Highly recommended. But if I'm going to play for like 3 or 4 hours at a time, man, I'm kicking back on my couch with a DualShock 4 because
I guess I can see
I'm
that.
old and lazy. So speaking of the Move controllers, let's see what they changed. In direct movement, that's their term for full locomotion, they changed the secondary X button to move the player backwards.
You can go backwards.
It's not just a walk backwards button. It's like putting a car in reverse.
Yeah.
So if you hold that X button and you move left, you're going to walk backwards and to the right. Right? It's just opposite of whatever the forward button would do. So just think of it that way.
Which is great because, that was a problem in combat before. It's like, okay, I need to, run away, get some distance, and you'd have to turn around or do other sorts, or, well, I teleport a lot, so I could just put my finger behind myself and run away that way.
But if you're using full locomotion, direct movement like me, and you're also dual wielding magic like me, there was no way to possibly walk backwards and cast magic forward. That was, and I remember thinking, man, people have a lot to complain about. People are complaining about the dumbest things until I got kind of good at this game. And which I'm not actually good at this game, but I've played it for a long time, so I'm more familiar with it. Let's say it is an issue. It's no longer an issue, so be happy about that for sure. There's also some complaints that maybe the X button doesn't work as well as it should. People are saying that it's not a perfect solution, but currently it's a decent solution, and I'm happy with it. What else we got?
So we've got, I think, one thing that I complained about before, and I'm so happy they fixed. You can see your hands.
Seriously, how weird was it when you put your weapon away
and you get the move controllers?
Right? You're in this fantasy world, walking around medieval times. Is that medieval?
It's
something.
Alternate world, whatever.
And there's move controllers just floating in the air.
Yeah.
That didn't seem right.
And it wasn't like they didn't have the models for the hands.
Right.
Because if you were just casting spells, boom, there's your hands. But then if you sheathed the spell, which in itself is a weird concept, your hands disappeared.
Yeah.
And you had just these little stubs. So, but now they fixed that. So now you actually have your real hands. You don't see the move controllers anymore. My one real complaint from before has now been taken care of.
Oh, well then thank you, Bethesda.
Yeah,
well done.
Actually, I'm sure someone's going to remind me of all the other complaints I had before. But
adjusted angle for spell targeting to be more comfortable.
Yeah, I find it a little jankier now. Actually, I kind of maybe it's because I was so used to it before. But you definitely can tell the difference between where your how the angle of your hands are. Yeah, it's hard to describe unless you actually played it a bunch. But yeah, now where you're aiming is slightly different from where it was before.
It had been a while since I played, and so I honestly didn't notice a difference.
Yeah,
I hate saying that, but I didn't because I don't play this every day. I want to.
Yeah.
Like I said last week, I'm kind of trying to do something here.
Imagine the difference between like holding a wand, and pointing, and holding a gun.
Yeah,
it's like that. So, if before you were used to kind of like your thumb being where your thumb on the move control being where you're going to aim, now it's kind of like this.
Yeah.
So it's a slight adjustment. It's probably more comfortable for some people. So, yeah.
Let's see. We also have the existing swimming has been moved to a new option for realistic swimming. Swimming by default now uses direct movement style controls. Man, how many times did everybody say that they couldn't go into water because they immediately drowned?
Yeah, the first, every time I start a new build, the first thing I look for is some kind of water breathing, or there's those boots that let you walk on water, because other than that, you just die. But they fixed it.
Well, so that's the thing, is that they never explained how to swim. Right? In Skyrim, you actually have to make the swimming motion, like you're doing doggy paddle or something.
But it's not even quite that. Yeah, you got to do this other weird variation, because if you do what you think you should do, that doesn't work either. Yeah.
So, and I know there are definitely some people who are like, it was so immersive, it felt so real. Swimming's my favorite thing to do in Skyrim. I read a lot of comments that I kid you not are real comments.
All right.
For people just joining, Skyrim VR, this is going to make it much easier for them. For everyone else, the option is still there. It's just now called realistic swimming.
Right.
Next up.
Oh, it's a tiny little thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably a result of having to map the X to the backwards motion and all that. But the sheath and unsheath is slightly different. Mm-hmm. So if it's been a while since you've played, you might not remember. You're going to probably do what I did. Like, wait, I thought I knew how to sheath this. How come I can't put my sword away?
Every single button, and it's not doing anything.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. You push every button, nothing happens. Yeah. You've got to hold down the circle button on your secondary controller.
Yep.
Actually hold it, because if you just tap it, it brings up your favorites menu. If you hold it down, then it sheathes or unsheathes your weapon.
That's the thing with this game. There are so many menus. There are so many just actions you can make. The shouts and spell casting and weapons and holy crap! Every button does something.
Yes.
And that's why they had to.
And some of them do two things now.
Yeah, exactly. Again, once you get used to it, it's not an issue, but it's definitely worth noting for sure. Added an option for HMD added an option for HMD relative direct movement instead of controller relative direct movement.
I don't use direct movement, so what does that mean?
So it's added an option for HMD, meaning the headset, relative direct movement. So
where you're looking rather than where you're pointing.
Yeah, there are some games that just do this by default and don't give you the option to turn it off. It's basically you kind of like walk in the direction you're looking just by default. I think it's supposed to help with motion sickness.
I was going to say that it immediately makes me sick.
Oh yeah, if I can ever find an option to turn this stuff off, I do. And again, it's an option, so all is well. Added a new option for realistic bow aiming, which uses both PS Move controllers to aim.
So here's the difference. Yeah. So before, you could pretty much just like, this is, your secondary hand is actually holding the bow.
Yep.
You could just kind of point that wherever you want and draw. So like, my wrist could be pointing there and I could be drawing like this. As long as this hand was aimed, it would hit. I think I talked when was talking about Apex Construct a while ago. It's like, if you played Skyrim and then you play Apex Construct, you're thinking like, oh, the aiming on this sucks. It's like, actually, no, the aiming on Apex Construct is realistic. Yeah. Skyrim does all this stuff to make you better. Well, now it's more realistic. So you actually have to have your both hands in line, aimed at the target, as if you were drawing a real bow. So there's none of this, and I would find myself doing this all the time. It's like, as my target was moving, just kind of moving this wrist around, but keep drawing like that. You can't put, well, I mean, you can. It's an option.
Yeah.
But if you want to make it more realistic, you can get rid of that where you actually have to draw and aim, down your hands. So very cool.
It is very cool.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not an archer.
I am.
So when I tried this out, I was
Stealth
like,
archer, what?
Right. I was like, no, this feels just like Apex Construct. It feels the same to me, and that's exactly why I didn't notice a difference, because the only archery I've ever done has pretty much been in Apex Construct.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our final piece of patch note. Players can now point at map markers and get information on them in local map mode. Good stuff.
Yep.
Just helpful. Maybe it should have been there from the get-go.
Yeah.
So that's a ton. That's like the biggest patch ever.
Yeah, and again, I it might sound like I'm sucking up to Bethesda or something, but I totally didn't have to do this. This was a game that we raved about from the beginning, even without these fixes, and now it's just, man, slam this thing.
It's such a, we don't have to go through our rating system again. Our rating system, is like, you have to have this game, you buy it on sale, or don't buy this game.
Yeah.
And we've been saying now the third episode, it's absolutely a must-have. It's a one through and through. It's been on sale so many times. The fact that you don't own it yet is mind-boggling. What's going on out there?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe there are people in our audience who have the money to buy this who haven't bought it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe fantasy RPGs aren't your thing. I totally get it, but this is just, you gotta have it. I'm sorry.
Well, so fantasy RPGs aren't my thing, right? Like, when it comes to Bethesda open world games, there's the Skyrim camp and the Fallout camp.
Yeah.
I'm a Fallout guy. I love Fallout. I love that setting, post-apocalyptic world, mutated monsters, all this stuff. I like the technology and the look of it. I like guns, and that system is cool.
Boy.
Right. I love all of this stuff. And so I was like, oh, it's cool that we're getting Skyrim, but I wish we had Fallout.
Yeah.
I got to say that, this changed my mind. It might have changed my mind about even the genre, because it allowed me to, get into something I would never care about before. I've done so many reviews on games and genres that I wouldn't normally pay attention to. I recently reviewed Animal Force. It's like a real-time strategy. No, it's like a tower defense cartoon game.
Yeah.
And I was like,
man,
man,
cute little animals.
It's adorable. But I never would have played this game ever. If it was on the Switch or something, I'd be like, shovelware, crap, whatever. And I played it and I gave it a chance and I loved it. And that's kind of what Skyrim VR did to me. It really made me experience.
You hear that? Skyrim is the new Animal Force.
I don't think they want to put that on a billboard. I liked Animal Force. Don't get me wrong, but it's no Skyrim. But that's the thing, though. It's like it really does open your eyes and say, you know what? I don't like when people speak in this tone of voice, like with this accent, with this thing, and like, oh, it's all like swords and shields and.
Well, that is one ding I will give it, because you get to hear the same line of dialogue in all sorts of different accents.
This is actually true.
It's a weird thing. They have more voice actors than they have scripts, apparently. So, anyways.
But any negative you could find about this game is so irrelevant that it's not even worth discussing. The number one comment or maybe question we get regarding Skyrim is, I've never played Skyrim before. I've never played an Elder Scrolls game before.
Yeah.
Should I buy Skyrim VR?
Yes.
There's no other answer.
Yeah, if you are... So here's the thing. Like, Elder Scrolls are a continuing series of games. Yes. Mm-hmm. Is there an ongoing story? Sort of. Like, the history and the characters that in Skyrim will refer to things that have happened in other games, but it'll refer to them as their past history, things like that. Right. So
nothing your character would have known about firsthand.
Right. I mean, there are Easter eggs, there are things that like, oh, I get that, or that's a reference to this thing. So will you improve your enjoyment if you knew the other games? Yes. Will you have a better idea of the sense of place? Honestly, I don't think so, because they do such a great job of creating a real feeling place in Skyrim that, if this is your first Elder Scrolls game, then good news, there's a bunch of other games that you get to look up and try to play. No, those aren't in VR, so why waste your time? But
yeah, we talked last week about Wipeout being like a console seller.
Yes.
Like if you don't have a PlayStation VR and you saw Wipeout and you're like, man, this looks good, you should totally buy a PlayStation VR to play that game.
Yeah.
If you don't have a PlayStation VR and you're looking at Skyrim going, man, this looks good, you should totally buy a PlayStation VR to play this game.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go back to what I started with. I think it already has probably sold more PSVRs than any other game.
Yep.
I think the analogy breaks down a little bit because, I wouldn't put Skyrim in the demo at every mall.
No,
because there is a little bar to entry. It takes a little bit to figure out the controls. In a Wipeout, I can just say this button make go fast.
Yeah.
This button make move.
Because even in Wipeout, if you're slamming into walls nonstop, you still get the idea. Like, oh, this is fast. Oh, this is insane. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But in Skyrim, you'd be like,
Skyrim, you've got some
I'm stuck
learning.
in one spot. I don't know how to. Where's my analog stick? Yeah. Sony, where is my analog stick? All right, it's time to move on.
Okay,
guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. What do you
another episode of Why We Love Skyrim.
And another episode of Why We Love Skyrim. In the comments below, let us know what you think of this patch. Did it improve the game for you as much as it improves it for us? Obviously, it took me a little while to realize how improved the graphics were, how improved the controls were. But I am absolutely thrilled that this is part of our collection.
Is there anyone who thinks it didn't improve the game?
Ooh. I'm very curious to read those comments.
Yeah,
They're going to be out there. You know that.
Yeah. I like not being able to walk backwards.
Also, what other games do you want us to talk about? The list is, the list is so long right now. Yeah, we have a lot of games to play for you.
Yeah.
But let us know in the comments, because we're always willing to add more games to the list. That being said, for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR, my name's Brian Paul.
I'm Desra.
And we'll see you next week.